Online Mark White, Street Smart Auto Brokers. They are the Used Car Dealer of the Year 2017, and we've got some questions for Mark, and it's a pleasure speaking to you, Mark.
Well, I'm glad to be on the phone with you as well.
Let's start with some of the simple stuff. Now, what got you into the car business to begin with? What did you do before jumping in? And we're trying to understand your overall path to success and what it looked like.
Yeah, I started out in sales, worked my way through school. My parents never had a lot of money, so college was something I was going to have to pay for myself. So I've always been in sales. Prior to the car business, I was in electronics sales, worked for Bose Corporation, Infinity Loudspeakers, some people like that. And then after I got my degree, while I was submitting applications to graduate school, because I was convinced I was going to get a master's and pursue that route, I started selling cars because I needed to make a paycheck. And in Norman, Oklahoma, I went to work for a dealer down there. The dealer's son was friends with, we had a mutual friend, and we met at a get-together, and he said, "You good in sales, you ought to try the car business." And at the time, I was just looking for something to support myself, and started selling cars and kind of took to it. And after 8 months, they made me a sales manager of a Toyota Jeep store, and I just never looked back. When I started getting good success there, I walked away from the idea of going in for a master's. I became a general manager of a dealership when I was 29 years old, and I was kind of joking with a friend not too long ago. I said, for 30 years I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. So I kind of fell into the car business as something just to do as a stopgap, and I liked it. I enjoyed the success I had with it. I seemed to have an affinity to it. It attracted me, and I kind of lost interest in doing anything else. I really enjoyed doing what I was doing. I worked for large dealers, for franchise dealers, up until 2006, and got a little bit tired of the corporate world. I still like the car business, so I took a self-imposed sabbatical. I resigned my position as a general manager of a dealership here in Colorado Springs, and I started buying and selling cars wholesale in 2007, and quickly became one of the larger wholesalers in southern Colorado, and built that up and opened my first retail lot in 2011, and that's where we are today.
It's only taken about 6 years to become one of the top dogs in the country in the used car industry. What's amazing is that you've been able to achieve some of the best review scores I've ever seen for a car dealer, let alone a used car dealer, because it's no secret that used car salesmen and politicians have credibility issues, historically speaking. You guys have been able to add a big measure of business integrity to an industry that really needs more folks like you. How do you achieve such high review scores? Because we know how important reputation management is in the industry, really for any business. But you guys have seemed to lock down some kind of process, of formula that is really impressive. Can you share it with us?
Certainly. Well, when I decided to open retail, I knew that I wanted to do it with some integrity. I didn't want to be that guy that if I was walking down the street and I ran into a customer, I didn't want to have to shield my face and look away from him and hope that he didn't recognize me. So I knew early on that I wanted to do business what I call the right way. Unfortunately, these are used cars and they're not perfect. And unless you buy extended service agreements, you do buy them as is. But what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And I believe in just looking at each customer on a case-by-case basis of just trying to take the approach of, how would I feel like I would want to be treated in a similar situation? Especially early on, we didn't have a lot of money, so we were selling almost everything 10 grand and under. And you obviously get some surprises with used cars, and because you can't, even though you do a good job of having them inspected and serviced, I've had, not many, but I can probably count on my left hand the number of serious problems I've had with cars over the years. But even when the customers bought them as is, I always tried to try and work out something that was equitable to both parties, especially if they if they had a good approach to trying to ask for some assistance, I've never been one that wanted to turn away from that. I think it possibly in the short term probably cost me some profits because there were times that I'd buy an engine for someone or a transmission for someone, but in the long run, it built our owner base, and I would say probably here we are almost 7 years into retail now, and I think probably 1/4 of our business is all from repeats and referrals right now. We don't advertise as much as most dealers do, and I think a lot of it is due to that. That being said, though, it's all well and good to do business the right way, but what I have found is that, and we've all heard this adage, that if you make somebody mad, they're going to tell 10 people. You make somebody happy, they may tell one or two.
Mhm.
So it was trying to get, because you're right, reputation management is increasingly important, especially in this era of being, online is everything. People research before they show up anymore. And we get dealers that do business with us from out of state that have never even been here that we ship cars to, and they have told me, I bought this car from you based on your reputation. So the challenge was, what do we do to get the happy people to be more responsive and to take the time to give us a good review. And what we found was that most of the time, customers have good intentions. They'd leave the store and they say, "Oh, hey, don't forget to go online and go to Yelp or go to Google and make sure you give us a good review. If you're on cars.com, make sure you give us a good review." "Oh yeah, sure, fine. I'll do that as soon as I get home." Well, they get home and life happens, and then they forget. And then a few days go by and they're like, "Well, I'm not going to do it now because now it's kind of embarrassing. I've been gone too long and I didn't do this." So about 2.5 years ago, I think, in my time frame, I think we were sitting on like 40 some Google reviews, and we were at about a 4.5, I think, out of 5 stars, which is not bad. But I thought we could do better, so I encountered a vendor called Podium. And Podium, I brought them on to do help us with our reputation management. And almost overnight, our reviews started going up. And what happened is we still would occasionally get the disgruntled customer, but they're few and far between. And of course, we also occasionally get the unreasonable customers. But they, in this, our country does allow freedom of speech, so they're able to say what they want, even if it's not true. But what I was able to do by using Podium is to get customers that were happy to give us more timely reviews. And there are other companies that do it, but I researched, and Podium is a company that I've been really happy with. And I'm not being paid to plug them by any means, but the way the situation works is when the customer is still in the store and they're as happy as can be, and the customer's never happier than when they're buying the car, is we send them a brief text, and it's like 3 clicks, and they're right to the review page, and they give our 5-star reviews have just it's been exponential. And I mean, I think last time I looked, we were teetering at close to 300 reviews on Google, and some of our other review sources are not quite as strong as Google, but we were at 4.8 out of 5 stars on Google, and they're all legitimate reviews. They're not manufactured, but it's just getting the people that are happy to actually step up and take the time to do that. And so the company that I use, it's not much money, and it was definitely well worth. It's definitely well worth the investment.
Yeah, speaking of which, that sort of segues us a little bit further down the slate of questions here, but obviously Podium's one of them. You and I had discussed previously a company that handles your Craigslist situation. There's obviously some other vendors that you work with, and I was wondering which vendors float your boat, so to speak. Which guys can you bank on to provide you either great service or even great leads? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, as far as lead providers, AutoSuite is the company that we chose to manage our Craigslist ads. The way Craigslist works, for those listening that don't know, is when you post an ad, almost immediately it's done by time sequence. So almost immediately your ad, within a matter of hours, if not minutes, it falls down to page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and it goes down, so forth. Well, you're not allowed, even though we're paying for the ads, you're not allowed to renew those ads too often, and you obviously want to be at the top of the listings. so that when somebody goes on there to to research a certain vehicle, they're looking for vehicles, and if you're not on the first few pages, they're probably not going to continue on. And so what AutoSuite does is they do, and there are other companies that do this as well, but we've been really pleased with them, is they have different points on which they post the ads. So it looks as if it's being posted from, instead of me sitting at my desktop at my computer here at my desk and putting all the ads on, it shows that they're being renewed much more frequently. So we get a much greater response that way. And then we found that Craigslist, especially with that $10,000 to $15,000 and under type car, which we do some of that as well, that's where customers go to look for those cars. They don't. Nobody's going to go to eBay to look for a $7,000 car. They'll go to Craigslist. And so we've had really good luck with AutoSuite. We're very careful. One of the reasons why we have grown so quickly, I think, is that we are very price competitive. We use Viato and their pricing structure. They're more money than anybody else. We've used others as well, and we're just really pleased. Even though Viato's a little extra money, we've gone back to Viato because what they do is they price the market. They let us know where we need to be priced. So we are always one of the best priced ones out there. And as well as having, everything goes through the shop and the transparency that comes with everything there. We don't hide anything from our customers. But having the right car priced that way too, we found out that there are certain vendors that do a better job than others. Really pleased with TrueCar. We've heard. I've been pleased getting some good response from Car Gurus. We dropped Auto Trader years ago, but they're making a run at us now. I think they've revised their program a little bit. So we always just try and see to keep our pricing down. We have to make sure that our advertising dollars stay down as well. So we're not one of those dealers that's just going to throw $10,000 or $20,000 out there. We're going to make sure that the little bit of advertising that we do, we're getting a good return on our investment.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes good sense. You had mentioned the price range in which potential car buyers approach you guys. It brings to mind what the Fed is about to do and what they actually just did, I think, a day or two ago, which was to raise the interest rate on folks, subprime borrowers. And I was wondering how you see that affecting your business, and how you guys are set up for a wave of bad credit car buyers that are definitely going to be hit by that, by the Fed's increase. I think they're planning 3 different interest rates increases this year. So how does that affect you guys?
We try and be responsive to market demands and the fluctuations that come with that, including interest rates. I've been in the car business for a long time, so I remember back when, even with good credit, it was really difficult to get a rate under 10%. And then we've had customers that have had, in recent history, good credit. They've had 1.9%. Well, as interest rates rise, people are still going to need cars. I don't think it's going to affect that as much. And particularly, responding to your question here about the subprime market, most of those customers are just really more concerned about what their monthly payment is going to be rather than what the interest rate is. When you presented Colorado as a usury law, our maximum is 21%, so we don't have to deal with as much of that as some of the other states where they can go beyond 21%. And it's unfortunate, though, but what it will mean is there are going to be certain customers in Colorado that if the lender views it as being too much of a risk and they can't charge more than 21%, they're either going to have to decline the application, or they're going to put themselves in a position where they're going to demand a greater acquisition fee to get the loan booked. And so there could be a little backlash there. I mean, there could be some customers that are going to be unable to get the cars they wanted or to get any car at all. And I guess just to see how much that's going to affect it, I don't know. After the big housing crisis that we had, 8-10 years ago when mortgage industry crashed and there were so many foreclosures out there, it trickled down into the car business as well, and lending got extremely tight for a long time. I hope it doesn't get that way again. We seem to have just been coming out of it a little bit, where people are able to buy cars again. I do hope it doesn't get as lenient as it was in the past because I think that's a disservice to your customers, just like it was in the mortgage business. Not everybody should be able to buy something with $500 down because that's easy to walk away from.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Which which brings us to the sign of the times question. Colorado. We discussed this a little bit earlier here. We're based in California, so we just legalized marijuana. How does the legalization of marijuana affect your hiring practice in Colorado?
Being an independent, my insurance company has not regulated that. They've not required us to do drug testing. The majority of the people that come to us to work, we're a small company. I think we have 24 employees. We're able to most of them are referred to us by somebody else, and we're able to kind of vet them a little bit before they come to work. And I personally don't have a problem with what somebody does on their time off. And I know that there are many reasons why somebody would partake of marijuana. When I was a kid growing up, and the weed smokers out there, we all thought they were all called stoners, and we never realized that there might be some actual benefits for it. But there are some medical benefits for it. In fact, medical marijuana cards were out long before it became legal out here. There are people, especially in the high concentration with military that we have out here too, and a lot of retirees out here. There are people that suffer from PTSD and other types of ailments that the THC drug will actually kind of offer some positive benefits. So I don't judge, and I don't restrict my people from doing what they do when they're off. That being said, I have a pretty good feel for the people that work for me. Main reason is that they all show up to work on time and they do a good job. So that's one way of telling you that they're not abusing it. But I just, obviously would monitor it and just watch it. And if there was any instance of them doing that at work, it wouldn't be tolerated.
We are in the eighth inning of our interview with Mark White. He is the used car dealer of the year for 2017. The company is Street Smart Auto Brokers. Two more questions for you, Mark. Here's a simple one. How do you give back to the community? Any fun promotions that you've come up with? What resonates within your community?
Well, obviously there's so much out there, and we're not. I'm not Bill Gates, so we're not able to do everything that we would like to do. So it's kind of interesting that you picked the word fun, because we have some pet projects. We try and help a little bit here and a little bit there with other things as well, but we have certain things that we've really become attached to. One of our favorite charities that we support year in and year out is TESA, which is an organization that supports survivors of domestic abuse. And when we first started with that, we started out with Thanksgiving dinners, and then we did Christmas. And what we found is there were so many people that step up and do things around Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we tried to find another way to differentiate ourselves and to give it another time of year. So we found out by talking to the people there at TESA that back to school is tough for some of these kids, because a lot of these families, unfortunately, in most cases it's the mother and the children that leave, and sometimes it's in the middle of the night or while the husband's gone, or I guess the abuser is not present, so they sneak out, and a lot of times they don't have anything, and most of these children are displaced. So what we found is that sometimes going into the school year, not only do they not have a full complement of school clothes, but they don't even have their basic school supplies. So we came up with an idea about 5 years ago that we were going to do a back-to-school promotion, and it started out very small. We got a bunch of our vendor partners and some of the other businesses in the community to start helping participate, and we started raising money and buying school supplies for them, so that when these kids went back to school, they would have everything that they needed to go back to school, and they wouldn't have that further embarrassment of, well, I live in a shelter now and I don't really have a home, but we're staying here because it's safe. So now, well, just to give you an idea, last summer when we did this, we outfitted 150 children with everything from a backpack all the way down to any pencil they would need. And we did a big event. We have a picnic with them. There was BACA was there, which is Bikers Against Child Abuse. They were there supporting us. They had face painting. They had pony rides. I mean, we just had a ball. It was almost like a fair or a carnival type atmosphere. And then through the generosity of my employees and many of my vendors that we do business with, and of course we pitch in as well, we were able to make sure that these kids were going back to school with the backpack full of everything they needed. That's one of my favorite things to do. And then most recently, we just did a Toys for Tots campaign at our new store in Motor City, and we had the Marine League brought out their an antique fire truck. I say antique; it was a 1962 model, and we advertised it. And we got some free radio and TV promos out there. We had a live remote, and we had people coming by bringing toys for kids that were disadvantaged and might not have anything for Christmas. And that went really well, and it was a lot of fun because we had a lot of focus there, and kids were coming out, getting their pictures taken with the fire engine, and just had a ball with it.
And you do those things. Those aren't necessarily just to go out there and sell cars, but it is giving back to the community. I could see that you're well on your way to Used Car Dealer of the Year 2018 with events like that. That's pretty cool. All right, last question. Real simple. As the automotive industry steams ahead into an age where the not-so-modern combustion engine becomes obsolete, which technologies, the EVs, the FCVs, and the PHEVs, it's confusing, it sounds like alien categories, do you think will catch on, and what effect do you think it'll have on the used car industry, say, 10 years from now?
Well, I don't think that the industry is going to shy away from more fuel-efficient vehicles or vehicles with lower emissions. I think that that's kind of here to stay. The technology is changing rapidly. I equate that with what has happened with diesels. It used to be that all diesels were loud and they were noisy and they were smelly and just not fun, and people didn't want it. You only had a diesel if you needed a diesel, and then as time has evolved, diesel has become a lot more clean, and technology is getting better there too. A lot of manufacturers out there now are playing with the new technologies. What will be the norm or the more popular thing when the dust settles? I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. My guess would be that it would be a hybrid. For example, the most popular, and I think in my opinion the best job that's been done with the hybrids right now has been with the Toyota Prius at an affordable price point. I mean, that's a vehicle that truly can get 45 to 50 miles per gallon. It's not, it's not smoke and mirrors. It really does do what it says it's going to do. Whereas some of the other technologies with just pure electric, people find out that they don't feel comfortable necessarily with a car that's only going to have 100 or 200 miles worth of driving capability before it has to be plugged back in.
Yeah.
So the rechargeable technology that comes with hybrids is really good. I don't know a whole lot about the fuel cell vehicles and some of the other technologies that are out there, and I suppose if I did and I knew if I could look into the future and know what was going to be popular, we could all invest and we'd all be retired here soon, knowing which technology is going to take off. And I equate it, I look at it, back before I got in the car business when I was in the electronics industry, and I remember that, Pioneer had the laser disc out for a while, and then I remember I'm old enough to remember when 8-tracks were still an option.
Join the crowd.
Yeah, and then there were cassettes, and then there were compact discs, and then they had a mini compact disc for a while, and then, like I said, Pioneer had their laser disc, and everybody's always trying to come out with the latest and greatest, and I think that's good. It's good for the industry. I think it's good that anymore that it's not going to be acceptable for anything to get 10 or 12 miles per gallon. I think that's good that the industry is going towards cleaner air and going towards better efficiency, and I don't think that trend is going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially with electric and being up in Colorado. The colder it gets, the less efficient they are. And getting caught, supposedly some of the ranges are increasing with them, but frankly, to get caught with your pants down, so to speak, in an electrical vehicle, that suddenly the 150-mile range becomes 50 because it's sub-zero is kind of problematic. But listen, Mark, I appreciate you again, Mark White, and he is the Used Car Dealer of the Year for 2017. Street Smart Auto Brokers is the company. We urge you to buy your vehicles from him, and he's a wonderful guy, and it was an honor for us to have this conversation. And Mark will be in touch shortly, and look forward to another discussion soon.
Kelly, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Take care and have a great weekend.
You as well. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.